very good note because it raised a lot of questions. Because it's always easier, I feel, to think that you have all the answers and to trot out the cliched rhetoric time and again. But I think the session just before ours kind of set the tone that many questions to be asked, which have to be answered so that we can move ahead. This session is going to be a pretty informal one. It's about content being, the innovation in content. So I'm going to basically get my panelists started on the important things which are expected out of people who are generating content, who are sort of taking it to new levels. And the first point being importance of content being the differentiating factor in a digital era. So I request my panelists to, sort of shed a little light on that, whether the television, there's internet, there are the traditional mediums. Is content really changing or is it more of the same? So I'll start with Sanjiv. Sanjiv, tell us a little bit about it because you have a background in television and I know that you are sort of doing work on the new media as well. So tell me, is content the differentiating factor? Has the medium changed the message or the content, so to speak?
Hi, good morning everyone. Hi, good morning everyone. Thank you, Priyanka. I think that's what we're here to discuss, the relevance of content. And I think Javed Saab really put it in perspective. And the one factor that he impressed upon, and I think which is very relevant, is equality. And I think that's really what has happened in the new world that we're all embracing, the internet world. I think the reset button has got pressed. So I'm very, very bullish about content and about content creators and their lives. Because this is it's a platform where the starting line has been drawn again. Nobody really knows what the answers are. Nobody knows where the goal is. It's just people with some amount of courage and confidence in themselves that they know how to produce content. They're at the starting line and we'll see this race begin. More of it later. Yeah. Okay.
Pulak, can you tell us something about it, like television, from television point of view? Like, what has your experience been vis-a-vis the content? Is there like a differentiation factor required in the digital era?
Yeah, thank you, Priyanka. Not only from a TV perspective, but if we take into consideration the entire ecosystem, there is no gainsaying that content would be important in the days to come. What would be more appropriate or more apposite in the context is considering what would be the key drivers to enable this transformation to take place in the first instance. So while we have had some massive changes happening, both in the regulatory and the policy side, as well as on the business methodologies that have been adopted, I think there would be key three drivers which would enable this paradigm shift to take place. So if I were to go in Syria team, I think one of those key drivers would be to relax the media ownership rules that have been framed a decade ago. One must realize that if there is any incentive for a particular entity to invest in distribution, or for that matter in carriage, it would be those who are absolute stakeholders in content or carriage. You can't expect a rank outsider to come in from outside and invest in these two fields. But what today's media restriction regulations do is that it prevents a broadcaster from investing in carriage, or for that matter a carriage platform to invest in broadcast platforms. The effect and the impact of this regulation, as and when it may have been formed, is tremendous. It may have been relevant in the time when it was conceived, but today it has completely lost its relevance. Today, if you have to enable differentiating content, it is absolutely essential that you have people who are in the know to invest in these two businesses. Otherwise, what will happen is you'll find entities who are not having any stakes in either content or in carriage coming into the fray, and making investments and content really going nowhere. So that's one. Second, perhaps, is while the FDI rules have been relaxed, what is the need of the hour? If we see today, India has at most in all 300 news channels, ferrying more or less the same content. There is no differentiation happening as such. So what is it that you do to accelerate a transformation in the news media field? You need to have FDI. Today you have 300 news channels. It would be absolutely, I don't know, insane to say that, introduction of FDI in news channels would basically skew the level playing field. And the third key differentiator, which I believe would really take us to the next level, is giving fiscal incentives, which is a long pending demand of the industry. So unless and until we have a mindset which really carries forward the developmental mandate, as has been enshrined in the parliamentary amendments very recently, and unless and until it really cascades down to the last mile, you won't really be having content. We can all talk about the importance of content and how relevant it would be in the times to come. But what is it that we as an industry or the policy beholders would be really doing in terms of ensuring that this really happens in the first place? That is something I think which we really all need to introspect and consider.
Okay. Sunil, I wanted to ask you, you have, you have an education-driven sort of segment on television. Do you think that's working and kind of signaling that even television is ready for like new programming, new content, so to speak, different from entertainment, more along the lines of infotainment? So tell us a little bit about that.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. I would just spend 1 or 2 minutes on the background, whatever we heard in the first session. And I think there are a lot of myths about digitization. What one, tends to feel that it is perceived that digitization will happen and ARPUs will increase. If we go by the experience with DTH companies so far, I think it's far from truth. Today, DTH companies' average ARPUs is 160 rupees. How is it that in spite of all so-called transparencies, the ARPUs are only 160 rupees? It's a strong indication for content creators and broadcasters that consumers today are not willing to pay higher amount for that kind of a content which they are getting. I don't see how people really presume that digitization will happen and with the same content the ARPUs can increase. We have a track record of last 3 years. There needs to be certain differentiation in the content because of which people are willing to pay. Today, if we look at the example of, I don't want to name, but DTH platforms, if there is a difference in the ARPUs of 2 DTH platforms, it is only because of certain differentiated content which other platform is doing, whether it is in terms of interactive services or it is something in terms of extremely niche channels. There is also a lot of this kind of thought process that if I have launched a channel, it is my birthright that all cable operators should carry it without charging carriage fee. I mean, it really defeats all logic. What is the business proposition for a cable operator for carrying a channel? How is he going to make money out of that? Today, like just now we heard, there are 300 news channels. Why should a cable operator be forced to carry 300 similar looking channels? How is he ever going to justify his investment into carrying those channels? Have we as a broadcasters or content creator developed certain different model where cable operator MSOs are part of revenue sharing exercise? Today, if you look at one of the fastest growing distribution platform globally, YouTube, all content creators who today out here crib, they are very well on the YouTube and sharing 50% of the ad revenue with YouTube. How is the dynamics completely different when we come inside this room? We had this experience when we launched Education Channel approximately now 3.5 years ago. We were very clear that no amount of carriage fee would make any business sense. And also for a niche channel, we didn't want that channel to be sold at 2 rupees, 3 rupees, etc. We thought we had a strong value proposition. We talked to addressable platforms only and we said, we want to sell this channel at a high premium. We will not pay any carriage fee, but we are confident that we will do a revenue sharing arrangement which will be profitable for you. It's a tough beginning when you try to be the first in the value chain and say we are the first establishing that kind of a model. Today I can say the platforms are getting far more money from Topper than they can get from carriage fee from channels. Their ARPUs are increasing, they're happy. And consumers, by choice, they are paying 60 rupees per month for a channel. And I'm very sure that this can't be the only channel for which people are willing to pay. I'm sure there may be many more channels. But I think different business models have to come. It can't be that, okay, we don't pay carriage fee and still, I mean, can a channel go just because it has a carriage fee to advertiser that now you give me ad revenue because I've launched a channel? I think that's something we have to do introspection and see, do we have something to offer to distribution platforms and to the end consumer who is willing to pay additional money for that kind of content?
Right. So if I get you correctly, what you're saying is that in addition to differentiation in content, there has to be like a lot of thought has to be devoted to creating different revenue models, which haven't changed that much. Would it be correct to say that?
Yes. I mean, today...
subscriptions which are underwritten and...
I think it's a bogey that subscriptions are under-declared because I don't want to get into that discussion. See, I have been fortunately involved in launching the first MSO in India way back '93. Then first pay TV channel in India, Star Movies, Zee Cinema, and first DTH company, Dish TV, and now the first in a way digital channel. So quite well aware of the dynamics. I think it's a lot of bogey under declaration, etc. And it can be proved that it is not that big a problem, which it is. The channels which deserve the subscription, they do get the subscription. The issue is today, if we are working as partners with MSO cable operators, do we have a business proposition for them? Our only business proposition is that if today we are strong, you have to accept to whatever my conditions are there, and if cable operators are strong, then they arm twist cable broadcasters. Now, that has been the way the business has been operating so far. It is true. Wherever, even Mr. Javed Akhtar in the morning session said that if I am strong today, then I don't bother about what unjust things I'm doing. Now, this has been the history since '93 of cable and satellite industry, that if somewhere cable operator has a monopoly, he arm twists broadcasters left and right. And if broadcaster becomes strong, then he does not leave that cable operator. Now, that model has to be dismantled, that there has to be a business proposition that I have a channel, there's a consumer who is willing to pay for that. Now, why should you carry if you have made investment and my channel will help you grow your business? If we can give that business proposition to MSO and LCO, they will carry the channel. And in a very small scale, we have demonstrated that we have not paid any carriage fee. Now, it's not a national level advertisement-driven channel, but the fact is it's a channel which is running successfully. And I'm saying initial starting was not that easy, because if you're trying to extract 60 rupees per month from a customer, where in India ARPUs are 160 rupees, people will have a lot of doubts whether I should pay for that content or not, whether it is worth it or not. But it is extremely scalable, because if you can demonstrate that with a certain critical number of subscribers, you can charge additional money, people will be willing to pay and your business model will grow. So I think there's a huge opportunity with addressable market, digitization, including DTH, to think of creating niche channels for which consumers are willing to pay money rather than only targeting advertising revenues.
Great. So that's a good point to sort of move on, that there is scope for niche channels, niche content, so to speak. And the other thing, I think Sandeep wanted to bring in, you had a lot of points to make. So
I want to start with a little different tone.
I'll give you the floor.
I'm recollecting two lines के काम शुरू करते नहीं भय से नीचे लोग मध्यम तजते बीच में देख विषम संयोग पर उत्तम वे लोग जो हर दुर्गम पथ झेल दृढ़ता से बढ़ते कदम बाधाओं को ठेल. My dear friends, why this? Because let me tell you, this industry is full of enthusiastic, dynamic, very hardworking, honest and very passionate people, and maybe that's one of the reasons that this industry has grown from 10 to 12% even at the time when the country was going through recession or bad times. So it's very important why I'm telling you this and why I had to quote this, because unfortunately this session this morning started with a lot of negative tone, lot of depression and lot of depressing statements. I could not bear it. And I'm a very enthusiastic person, and I thought that somewhere the seminar may not go on a different tune if this depression is going to prevail in this auditorium. Well, I'm very happy that I'm here, and the subject of the day is the content in this age. When I'm talking about the contents for media and entertainment industry, let me put it back into 6 different segments just to prepare a little base for all of you. When I say media and entertainment industry, then we're talking about print, radio, television, cinema, new media, events, and education. And I think with the coming of a digitalization, every segment, every medium of media has seen a tremendous change. The biggest change is that news channels have become entertainment channels, and entertainment channels have become a news channel, and feature films have become a center of information, and information centers have become your entertainment center. This is one of the biggest change when I talk about contents in media. When I talk about print, don't forget that newspaper, which were you so used to getting up early in the morning and rushing towards your own gate and picking up the newspaper yourself to see to it what is the best and the biggest news of the day. You don't have to get up. You're just opening your laptop, sitting on your bed, and actually reading the news and the best of the newspapers from your own country and from abroad. This is what digitalization has brought to the newspaper. And I think content-wise, there was a time when lots big articles used to get printed into news and magazines. People have no patience left to go through long articles. Everything has become condensed. Everything has become shorter and shorter. You just want to read few lines. You just want to read the heading. You want to come down to the basics of the content, and you know that what is happening in the world, because all that what you're reading is supported by another chapter on television, on radio, and your day-to-day discussions. When it comes to radio station, I think contents have changed. News has taken a back seat in radio station. News has become only an important part of television centers, and radio has only become a source of entertainment, and especially when you are only driving your car. Nobody listens to radio otherwise. I'm one of the biggest sufferers. We had one of the biggest showroom in Khanna market and selling music and electronics, and we had to change our business because there's no buyer for music, rather the hard disk or CDs or videos. Nobody wants to buy them. And that's what ultimately I had to open a radio station in Noida, because I want to be trendy and I want to be part of the game. When it comes to television, yes, you know it, we have discussed in the last session also, every television channel may be suffering from one way or other way, but then let me tell you, content, I mean, the best part is that this morning the statements have been changed. So far we've been talking, the content is the king, and I'm very happy that Javed Sahab have given a new statement, a new definition to it, and he says now, content is God. That's the ultimate. I mean, I was just going through the Bring the Bodies by Hilary Mantel became a very big success, a book. Building Stories by Cherish Ware became a very big hit, a book again. A Hologram for the King by Dave Egwer is also become a very big hit. Reason because these books have content to read. That means even the publication of books have not yet died. They're still publishing books because of the content. And they are the books which have been sold in millions all over the world. When I'm talking about The Dark Knight Rises by Christopher Nolan, a super hit film, or a Django Unchained by Tarantino,